NewJeans also attempted to rebrand as NJZ in February 2025, hosting their own performance and announcing an upcoming song. Unfortunately, the following month, the Seoul court ruled that NewJeans could not pursue independent activities, as both NewJeans or NJZ, since their exclusive contract was still technically active. If they operated as a band without ADOR's explicit permission, each member would have to pay 1 billion Korean won, approximately $700,000 USD, per violation. NewJeans filed an objection to this injunction, but the court rejected it and affirmed its previous ruling. The group has been on indefinite hiatus since. For the last year, the court has consistently backed up ADOR's claims and stated that NewJeans' complaints weren't enough to void the contract. Subsequent appeals have also been dismissed. The final nail in the coffin was on October 28 when the court ruled that NewJeans' exclusive contract, scheduled to end in 2029, was still valid. The court stated that it was difficult to conclude that ADOR breached the exclusive contract solely on the grounds of Min Hee-jin's dismissal. NewJeans immediately announced they planned to appeal the ruling, adding that it was impossible for them to return and continue normal entertainment activities under the company. However, on November 12, ADOR announced that Haerin and Haein had reconsidered the situation and agreed to comply with the exclusive contract. Following this, members Danielle, Minji, and Hanni stated that they would also be returning to ADOR through some media, though ADOR has yet to confirm this ambiguous statement. NewJeans' struggle reflects a broader issue in the music industry: power imbalances between artists and their companies. Entertainment contracts tend to favor the record label. There's a trend of artists signing themselves to record labels when they're young, allowing managers control over their brand. Traditionally, contracts allow labels ownership over the artist's materials, music videos, photographers, unreleased works, etc., and royalties in exchange for financial support for the artist. This also grants them significant leverage over the artist. The most famous recent example is Taylor Swift's dispute with Big Machine Records. In accordance with her contract, she didn't own the master recordings of her music, which meant she earned a relatively small royalty and couldn't control how her music was distributed and used. Fortunately, she was eventually able to purchase her master recordings for $360 million and now has full autonomy over her work. However, this isn't the case for most artists, NewJeans included. Renegotiating the terms in a seemingly unfair contract is merely a pipe dream, especially when considering K-pop's infamous 7-year contracts. Post-debut, there's usually only 2 ways out of the contract: the group disbanding, usually due to financial issues or serious controversy, or waiting until it expires. Leaving prematurely is virtually impossible due to the required fee. For example, NewJeans would have to pay 300 billion Korean won, approximately $200 million USD, to terminate the contract early. Most groups don't have that money, so if idols begin to dislike their careers, which can be exhausting and demanding due to severe overworking and restrictions, they have no choice but to deal with it. Consequently, groups have historically disbanded as soon as their contract expires, a phenomenon referred to as the 7-year curse. And while K-pop idols today tend to prematurely renew their contracts instead, they still face overworking, unfair compensation, and pressure. Additionally, South Korean law classifies K-pop idols as independent contractors instead of workers, which means they aren't entitled to labor protections. If NewJeans, one of the biggest K-pop at the time, couldn't get their foot into or out of the door, how are other groups supposed to advocate for themselves? Although NewJeans ultimately conceded to ADOR, their legal battle has sparked an important conversation about the power dynamics between artists and their labels. We might be back to square one, but what happens next is anyone's guess.